Live, and you know what this means. For those of you who are helping out the classroom, it means text, tag, call people, let them know that today we're going to have probably the most important topic between forgiveness and gratefulness. I don't know. It's a toss-up. We might even talk, because we've talked about everything. And you get to meet, for those of you who are new to the classroom in the last couple of years, you'll get to meet the beautiful Kristi Nelson. So today I got to start my record. I don't have Robert today. So even though there's not going to be music, you need to make sure you do some dancing later on, your calisthenics. Yeah, that'll be edited later on. So here we go. So we're going to start the record. So today on the show, we have Kristi Nelson of gratefulness.org, a network for grateful living. So today, fasten your seatbelts, because we're going to learn and grow together. And somewhere around the world, put on the music, start dancing, because it's time to put ourselves in the moment and learn new truths. So hello, my listening friends. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are tuning into the classroom for the first time, please know I've been waiting for you. This is a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening and viewing friend, will feel empowered to embrace a new truth and live the life of your dreams. Now, as I've said before, there are many reasons I look forward to the holidays, but having Kristi Nelson has been one of the highlights since 2014. She's been coming on, and at least because we used to do it like maybe once a month, where she would come on to talk about gratefulness and the emotional aspect of life. But it's been a while. So then we said, okay, once a year. And normally we did it for Thanksgiving, but it seems like years, but it's only been since 2020 that we have not been together. So I am just really excited that the executive director for a network for grateful living, Kristi Nelson, and I found out author, and we're going to talk about her new book of, go ahead, you can show it to everybody, Kristi. There you go. Wake Up Grateful. I love that title. And so author of the network for great, well, she is the executive director for a network for grateful living. And so today we're going to be talking about the importance of gratefulness. And we're also going to talk about radical, not just gratefulness, but radical gratefulness with Kristi Nelson. And we're going to be giving one book away. So you know what to do. 407-373-5959. Text me. Let me know that you want to be a more grateful person. And we will pick names next week. So if you're listening on podcast or later on, make sure. So on Tuesday, that's the 14th, we will select one name once you go into the winner's basket, and I'll let you know if you win. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Kristi Nelson is here to do just that. Welcome back, Kristi. I've missed you. I really have.
So sweet to be with you. Thank you, Lily. I love it. And great to be back here too. And I remember our Thankful Thursdays very well, many of them.
Thursdays.
Yes, we did that for quite a long time. So both of us have evolved. It's been a long 8 years that we've been in connection doing this. So thank you for having me in your classroom. I love being a visiting professor in your classroom.
Yeah, we all learn. And, we're all teachers and we're all students. And it doesn't matter how evolved somebody is. We always have room to grow. So share a little bit about your background, Kristi, and what led you to becoming an executive director for a network for grateful living. And then we go from there.
Sure. Wow. Well, my background is in nonprofit leadership, many years, and always things, concerned about the environment and social causes. And then I got a diagnosis of stage 4 cancer when I was 33 years old. So for those of you who don't know that, and for those of you who do, I'm still here, which is just amazing, because now it's been, it'll be 29 years next year.
Wonderful.
So
Congratulations.
pretty
Kristi.
soon I will be a survivor, thriver, as long as I lived before cancer. So that's pretty amazing when you hit that mark. And I didn't think I was going to make it this long. You know, this was not projected, anticipated, promised, as is true for all of us. You know, you never know. So I got this diagnosis of stage 4 cancer, and it really radically changed my life because I was 33 years old and I didn't know what was going to happen in my life. And so, not knowing how long I was going to live, I got incredibly grateful for every single moment that I had. I felt just like everything was enough. Everything was beautiful. Everything took my breath away. I loved the people I loved so fully. I was really living kind of on the head of the pin, so to speak, of every moment. And then the longer I lived, the more I lost perspective and the more I lost that appreciation for life. And I found that fascinating because I thought, what if we could live this way every single day? What if it was possible to really bring this amount of appreciation to every single day, to all the days that we're alive, and not take them for granted? So I love this organization, a Network for Grateful Living. It's been going since 2000, the year 2000, and Brother David Steindl-Rast founded it. And he's an extraordinary Benedictine monk and a great spiritual teacher, an interfaith leader, really. And I had been a follower of this organization, and then they started looking for an executive director. And I was not looking for a job at the time, but I thought this is the perfect match, because the whole premise of the work is really loving life and coming alive gratefully in every single moment, no matter what. And so that felt like a calling I couldn't resist. And my life story happened to segue perfectly with that teaching. And so I really wanted to be of service. And so I took this job, and it's been an extraordinary almost 8 years.
Wow. Yes. It's amazing to see, you know, we understand gratefulness. We understand being thankful. We understand all those things.
Yeah.
But isn't it funny how we sabotage ourselves and focusing on what we don't have, the lack, the times that we thought this is what we wanted, but the reality was that it's not what we needed. And life has a way of kind of resolving itself that way. You know, when you look at life as, okay, this too, I'll find the purpose. And the conversations, gosh, through the years that you and I have been so deeply connected to lifting our spirits to that next level and lifting each other up through conversations. Because, you know, even though, you know, we have a goal to be the healthiest we can be, to be the happiest we can be, to be the wealthiest we can be, we still have our inner things that we deal with as well. And I try to tell, you know, what I share with all our listening and viewing friend, that don't think that my life is perfect. It's perfect for me. It is what I want it to be. And one size does not fit all. So they need to find their yellow brick road, their path. And to have the book that you know, the topic today is the radical path to gratitude. And, you know, it does have to be a radical change. Did it have to be, did it have to be an illness? Did it have to be, you know, an awakening of, gosh, I'm taking life for granted again? Did it have to be that? Or can you just wake up?
It doesn't have to be. Yeah, it doesn't have to be. And that's the reason I wrote the book, Lily, is because I felt like it was a powerful, painful wake-up call that got me to be more awakened to how important it was to live gratefully. And for a lot of people, that's true. That's how we come to awareness sometimes, is through losing or almost losing things. And yet I think that can be a really hard path. And so part of what I wrote the book for, and our work is all about, is helping people to practice living gratefully in every moment, so that it's actually an embedded way. It comes from the inside out. How we orient to all of our lives, to every moment that we have, is that recognition of this could be otherwise. Like for a lot of people, there's other truths, and it's so easy. Like life is precious and life is fleeting. And how do we really seize the moments that are ours and live them fully with our hearts wide open, appreciating everything that's available to us? We lose our way. We so lose our orientation, and we get hung up in what we don't have, in the scarcity or in the complaint, all of the complaint culture. And there's a lot to be concerned about. And yet, if we can be grateful in every moment, right? Life is never going to be exactly as you want it to be. Mm-hmm. That's not what life is about. Nobody was promised that. Mm-hmm. Really, that's how I feel. Mm-hmm. However, you can greet each moment of your life with curiosity, with a commitment to learn, with a commitment to grow, with a commitment to love. And being grateful for each moment makes all of that available to us. Because you say, what's the opportunity available in this difficulty? What's the opportunity? What's being asked of me? What is life trying to teach through me in this difficulty? And so asking ourselves those questions and saying, I'm grateful for the opportunity to learn, is really the mainstay to living a grateful life. And that's living a happier life and a healthier life. Is the more grateful we can be for what we have, the more healthy and happy we're going to be.
I love that. I love that. And so I want to remind everybody, Robert is not doing what he normally does. So he normally sends a message for you guys to know that if you have any questions for Kristi, put a Q, or if you have a question for me, or if you want to make a comment, you can make a comment. But if you have a question, type in a Q and write your question down, and we'll ask it through the broadcast today. We're not going to have a teacher's pet corner, but we're going to go as long. I didn't even ask you, because we were trying to catch up. Do you have extra time afterwards, or do you have a hard out at 1?
Oh, I have a hard out at 1. I'm so sorry.
No, that's okay, because my husband's probably listening right now and going, when can we come back with the kids? So I was sharing my morning with Kristi, and having a 1-year-old. Gosh, it's been 4 years since I've had a 1-year-old in our home, and a 5-year-old. Normally it's like they get older and you kind of grow with them, but this was like, man, it's like bam. And while I'm working, so I'm sure he's going to want to come back too. So ask your questions now, type in a Q, and make sure, Kristi, hold up your book. We're going to be giving away Wake Up Grateful to one of you. So go ahead and text me. And this is for the United States only, right, Kristi? You're not going to send it out for the United States only. Okay.
Sorry about that. We love international people.
We do. Yeah. That's where the PDF comes in. And sometimes they have PDFs and we can do that, but no. So today we're kind of like, I feel like my right arm is missing, but we are going to focus on what we do want, which is to spread the message of gratitude. And this is what happens when we focus on what we don't want. And I never got this really until I started doing the classroom. I'm like, if you focus what you don't want, you get more of what you don't want. And I never got that. I thought, if I'm focusing on what I don't want, I'm going to get it out of the way. No, that's where my attention is. So if I focus on lack, I will get more lack in my life. And so basically what we're encouraging you today is to look at the radical side of gratitude. So let's talk about that, Kristi. And now that you are because the last time you came on, you had a different book, but it was for a network for grateful living. But now this is your book. And so share a little bit about your book. Why did you write the book now?
Yeah, I wrote it for a network for grateful living. So it's my voice, but it's sharing my story about cancer, it's pretty inspiring, but also very resonant. I think right now I have a chapter called Savoring Uncertainty, treasuring the body as it is. A lot of things that are very relevant and I think timely during the pandemic. And I at first thought, oh, this is the worst thing ever. My book was published. I call it a COVID baby, like when people have, and all the things that you're used to having, like there's no bookstores, there's no baby showers, there's no celebrations in person. And so I wanted to write the book because I wanted to share from my experience how we can set our lives up to remember over and over again what really matters to us and to stay focused on what really matters. And that is basically saying, how can I be grateful for all the moments in my life? How can I be living in the space of really appreciating what's already mine and taking nothing for granted? And so taking nothing for granted is basically that's the pathway to gratefulness, and we really say, Brother David says so beautifully, it's not happiness that makes us grateful. It's gratefulness that makes us happy.
Yes.
So you can have all the things in the world that you think you're supposed to have, or that, the world wants you to have, or other people have. And unless you're grateful for what you have, you aren't going to experience that happiness. That happiness comes so deeply from the place of saying, I'm alive again today. This is extraordinary. Like, I love Maya Angelou's got this great quote. Today is a wonderful day. I've never seen this one before. So just to be in a state of marvel and awe and wonder about the fact of being alive leaves us with way fewer regrets, because we're more present to life. And so I think that's really the pathway to a meaningful life and a life that matters, is getting the regrets out of the way, saying, what do I have now? What can I take less for granted? How can I fill myself up and lift up with all the marvels and wonders of the world, which are our bodies, technology, the natural world, our relationships, the gifts that we have, being able to just turn on running water, being able to have electricity, being able to be on Zoom, being able to have all of the technology that we have and the benefits. It's extraordinary. And, 30 years ago, so much of it would not be imaginable. And so I think this is the way to honor life, is to live it gratefully.
I think it's wonderful. And now you and I were talking prior to, and we've had multiple conversations about gratitude through the years that we've known each other. And by the way, you can go to whenyouneedafriend.com and just enter Kristi Nelson, or you can just click on her link and it'll take you to her website. But if you go to the search, there's so many podcasts that we've done together. When we first started, we were like only radio, and we were being streamed, but we were recording the voices at least on the radio, and we were able to upload them. So you will find, if you are lacking in gratitude and you like to hear reasons to be grateful or tips on gratitude, I'm sure from 2014 on, you will find some wonderful gems in there. But prior to our conversation today, you and I had a private conversation. You said, we really talk about, immerse ourselves in the 5 principles of gratitude and being grateful. And so before we talk about that, or maybe you think that maybe we should wait till after we talk about the 5 principles, the difference between gratitude and radical gratitude. Do you want to talk about that now or after?
Yes. Okay. I think that's helpful. Yeah. So gratitude is something, right, it's actually trending right now. I mean, you were way ahead of the trend talking about Thankful Thursdays 7-8 years ago, but gratitude is everywhere. And there's all the scientific benefit about it, and people are talking about it, and there's gratitude practices and 7-day and 14-day and 21-day. And, Deepak Chopra's talking about it, and Oprah's talking about it. I mean, really, Brene Brown, it's very commonly talked about. And yet the way that we think about gratitude typically in our culture is it's conditional. Gratitude, we experience gratitude when something that we want happens, when we get something that we've been wanting, when someone gives us something, when the world gives us a string of green lights, when we're going down, Highway 1, so gratitude is pinned to conditional circumstances. It's also very fleeting. It disappears, dies on the vine very quickly. So,
which, by the way, sad times too. Good times and bad times. They
all come and go.
Yeah.
But I think what's important is that we've pinned gratitude to, I got what I wanted. So you're never going to get what you wanted every single moment of every single day of your life. So how do we figure this out differently? And what I like to say is, so there's gratitude, and then there's radical gratitude, radical gratitude is gratefulness. So gratefulness is an orientation to life. It starts from the inside out. It's actually, it's a way that we approach life. It's a way of being. And so we wake up in the morning and say, I'm grateful to be alive. I'm grateful I can breathe. I'm grateful my body can move. Wow. And so you go through your life orienting gratefully. And when you live your life gratefully, that's radical gratitude, because it's actually, gratefulness is the gratitude that doesn't depend on what happens, right? So gratitude really heavily depends on what happens. And if you're waiting for the right things to happen all the time, you're going to be sitting around like this, passive, reactive, waiting. It's very transactional. You're, like, when is the world going to dish me up something that I can have gratitude for? Yeah. That's not how the world works. So instead, radical gratitude is unconditional. And it's something that we bring to life no matter what happens, because we can be grateful in every moment of our lives, not for everything. Can't be grateful for every single thing, but you can be grateful for the opportunities inside every moment, no matter what's happening in our lives. There's always going to be opportunities to learn, to grow, to love, to be more present. So I think that's the way that radical gratitude works, is really gratefulness, which is gratitude in every moment.
I love it. And, and I truly believe it. And I truly live my life this way. However, I can hear people, as a life coach, I can hear people talking back at the screen, talking back at their phone going, oh yeah, but you don't know my dad, or you don't know my mom, right. You don't know what happened to me, or you don't know. And I deal with this day in and day out and get people to kind of make a shift. However, how can you be grateful when something horrible is happening to you at the moment? What do you tell them, Kristi?
Well, that's the thing. You can't be grateful for everything. It's not that everything that's happening is okay, but can you find a way to situate yourself in gratefulness for the gift of life, for gratefulness for the moment that you have, reconnect with, I'm able to breathe. Honestly, I think if there's a time in our lives when we should not take for granted the ability to breathe, it keeps us alive, our beautiful lungs, the ability to take a big, deep breath inside and out. It's like, oh, okay, I'm still here. I'm alive. What's the opportunity that life is offering me right now in this difficult situation? It's not that you're grateful for the thing, but you stay grateful for the unconditional things that allow you to better greet the difficult things. So if you create a baseline, and a really big, robust baseline of being grateful unconditionally for your life and all the things that are the gifts of life, it makes it much easier to deal with the stuff that's really hard. Mm-hmm. And we want to, I call it filling up the well, fill up the well, so that when you go to the hard stuff, you have something to bring to it. Otherwise, it's very hard. And people say, well, why should I be grateful? It seems so silly, but because it fills up the well, it fills up your cells, it fills up your heart, it fills up your well-being, it fills up your spirit. And it's an honoring of life. Even when things are really hard, it's possible to cultivate that deep-seated sense of gratefulness that's really unconditional. And I think it pays off so quickly that the return on the investment of that frame of reference shift, so when we make a shift, the payoff is immediate. You don't have to wait a year. You get an immediate feedback loop about how differently you're orienting to what's true in life. And so I think that's really worth it. And we get that feedback loop, and that's a gift.
I love that, and it makes us think, we've got to stop and think. I love that, making us think about, okay, is our gratefulness conditional? Are we grateful out of, if things are good, I'll be grateful. If things are not exactly what I want, then I'm going to be miserable. What does misery do for us anyway, other than weaken ourselves, get us sick, cause, dis-ease to be stored in our body, or past trauma to be stored in our body, and that will convert into dis-ease. So those are our options. And I want to be grateful. I want to be, because I know that no matter what's going on in my life at this moment, that maybe I may not like, it could be worse. And that is something that I learned at the age of 10. At the age of 10, that was something that permeated in me when I heard a priest give a homily on, being upset because you don't have new shoes to wear, but then you might look at your neighbor and they may not have any feet. At the age of 10, that was the only thing I remembered at that moment. And I thought, this is a really good formula. And I didn't know that at the time, but it's a really good formula for success in life. To know that to be successful gratefulizer, as we've talked before. Am I an awfulizer or a gratefulizer? So share a little bit about these principles, Kristi, and some of the things that we can start radically changing today.
And I just want to say one thing too, which is interesting. Comparison, right, can be the thief of joy. And it can also give us perspective. And one of the things I want to encourage people to do is not to objectify people who necessarily have less, because they also have their own experience, but to actually be able to say, it could be otherwise. And someday it will be for all of us. And it used to be for all of us. And so I think one of the things to recognize is like, how would my grandparents feel if they came into my life right now and the things I complain about not having, and they would come in and just say, the riches that you have, right? So it's like extraordinary what we have available to us right now. And that's really true wealth, is to have access to what we do have access to in our lives right now. So I think it's about, to me, it's expanding your perspective. It's always about a perspective shift. So these are perspective shifts, and these are the 5 principles, and they come out of the book. So, and I'll just read them. So they're really beautiful, and they build on each other, and they're all different ways that we can plant our remembrance. And so I'm going to read them slowly just so people really feel it. And the first one is life. I don't even have to read them. Life is a gift. Life itself is a gift. When you greet each moment gratefully, you are always receiving. So life is a gift. And when you greet each moment gratefully, you're always receiving.
Is that the continuation of one, or is that?
That's one. That's one. So that's one. Okay. So life is a gift. When you greet each moment gratefully, you're always receiving. And what that does is it says, you don't have to wait to receive anything. When you see life as a gift, you're always receiving, because whenever you're alive, you're actually in an experience of receptivity all the time, and focus on that.
I love that. That is so true.
Second one is everything is surprise. Everything is actually a surprise. Everything is surprise. When you open to wonder, opportunities abound. And we use wonder in both the senses of you open to curiosity and you open to awe. You open to being amazed by life. So everything is surprise. That means we're not always in charge of every single thing that happens. Like we're not the ones driving everything. And that's true. And yet we're always surprised by surprise. It's like, wait a minute, I thought I could control this or predict this. So everything is surprise. When you open to wonder, opportunities abound. That's the second one. The third one is so powerful. It's the ordinary is extraordinary. The ordinary is extraordinary. There's nothing ordinary about life, about our bodies, about the natural world, about other human beings, about our emotions, about our thoughts. It's like, it's incredible. The ordinary is extraordinary. When you take nothing for granted, life is abundant. It doesn't mean you're going to have abundance necessarily. And some people might say it does, but life is abundant. When you take nothing for granted, all of a sudden you look around and your life is overflowing with things to celebrate, to appreciate, to acknowledge. You can't even believe the wealth of your life when you take nothing that you have for granted, because you're going to be consumed in every moment with going, wow, I have so much to be appreciative of. The fourth one is appreciation is generative. Appreciation actually makes things happen. So I love to say everything that we appreciate flourishes in the nourishment of our appreciation. So if you want things to flourish in your life, appreciate them. That goes for the people, the plants, your car, your home, whatever you have, appreciate what you have. And it is generative. It makes things grow. It transforms things. It's a powerful energy, the energy of appreciation. When you tend what you value thrives. That's the second part of the fourth one. So the fourth principle is appreciation is generative. When you tend what you value thrives. That's a great call to action, meaning, do you value your relationships? Okay, how are you tending to those? Do you value the earth and our beautiful planet and the land? And if so, how are you tending to those things? Because they will thrive in the nourishment of your appreciation. Beautiful. And the fifth one is love is transformative. We got to end with love. Mm-hmm. When you embrace the great fullness of life, So when you embrace the great fullness of life, and that actually means hurt and beauty and messiness and magnificence and suffering and the exquisite. It means everything. And it means breaking open into compassion. When you embrace the great fullness of life and you let yourself see and face and lean in, as we say, to what's true, then your heart overflows.
Wow.
So love is transformative. When you embrace the great fullness of life, your heart overflows. And that is the pathway to really feeling that life is a gift. So we go back in again, and those 5 repeat themselves. And it's a beautiful way to live. And those are touchstones. I like to call them touchstones because we can touch into those. We can remember those as little affirmations. We can put them up on the refrigerator. We can, don't forget that these things are true. And our lives are going to be much richer for remembering them.
Kristi, whenever you and I have had conversations, I just have to sit with some of the things that you say or the conversations that come out. And I could probably just go back now and have you repeat everything again, because it was so powerful. Now, let me ask you, did you create these, or are these out there? Wow.
These are embedded
well done.
though. I didn't create them. They're embedded in Grateful Living, as Brother David really talks about it. Brother David has the most beautiful 5-minute video called A Grateful Day. Used to be called A Good Day. And it's this most gorgeous short meditation on living gratefully. And really that kind of radical gratitude of just, wow, gratefulness. It's the most incredible thing. So these come out of his work, and they were my nod to his work and to this whole idea of living gratefully. And he hadn't put them exactly into words, but if you listen, he says these things in various ways throughout all of what he says, and you can find them in A Grateful Day.
You were able to extrapolate that.
That's what I tried to do. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to write the book, was to say, how do we offer people something that they can practice, that they can relate to, that has stakes in the ground, so to speak, that has ways that we can really lean into things and have practices over and over again. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And for those of you who would like a copy, show them your book. I was unaware that there was a book, but we're making it about to. Kristi decided she's going to give one book away in the United States. So you can text me at 407-373-5959. Text me, I want to be grateful, and start this journey today, because you've got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. And so you can buy your book. Now, what I'll do is I'll go back to Kristi and I'll find the book, and then I'll link it to her name. It'll be linked to the book now. So I'll go do that after the class today. So that way you can just go to the blog that you get every Sunday at 4:44, which the number 4 was very symbolic to love. And when I was becoming a life coach. And so the number 4, that's what you do. Instead of giving them 1 finger, you give them 4 fingers, which is love. And so at 4:44, you get this blog, and it tells you everything that's going on in the classroom for the week. So please, please, please make sure you go to whenyouneedafriend.com and subscribe there, and then like and follow all the social medias that we have in there. Now, check out my sponsors, check out my little Shop Now bag. The Shop Now bag has affiliates from, organic beauty from head to toe, beauty products from head to toe, health assurance, fitness. I've talked about my bands, and so check out anything that's there, alternatives to pain, anything that will help you heal naturally, as well as you can become a enrolled student in the classroom by giving of your time, your talent, or your treasure, whether it's $1 or $1,000 a month. We need all the support we can get. And today we're talking with Kristi Nelson. She is the executive director of a network for grateful living. I stumbled upon a network for grateful living one time, and I don't know if it was that Kristi reached out to, or I don't know how we got connected, but I know that Kristi replied to my inquiry, because I loved I still promote a network for grateful living in my workshops, because gratitude is so important to living the life of your dreams. But how we are grateful and how much gratitude is crucial here. And this is what I'm hearing you say, Kristi. And if anybody wants to get a hold of you, because I was going to send them to gratefulness.org. Do you have your own website now because of the book?
No,
okay.
Everything is through gratefulness.org, gratefulness.org. And it's such a beautiful, beautiful online sanctuary. We love this website and it offers so much. So lots of pathways there for really, what does it look like to live a more grateful life?
That's absolutely true. And you know what, Kristi, when we're in the moment, we're in that moment where there is sadness, devastation, unreal. It's unreal. It's not natural to go, oh, I'm so grateful. It's not natural. And so what are some of the tips to allow whatever is happening to not just stay and remain in you, but to actually go through you as you deal with whatever emotion it is, allow it to go through you? What are your recommendations for that?
It's so important because I'm not a blissed out bunny all the time. I'm, I struggle with life. I struggle with what's going on in the world. I struggle with other people suffering. It's like we all are so open. Like when we're open-hearted, we feel things deeply, and we're meant to feel things deeply. And so don't try to not feel those things. Like compassion means that you put your heart out in the world to feel the suffering of other people. And that's really important in order to heal the world. We have to be in touch with it. So I like to say, first of all, embrace your feelings. Like Mark Nepo has a beautiful quote: our fears just want to be held. Our feelings just want to be held. They want to be embraced. They don't want to be shunned. They don't want to be pushed away. I think the more that we can take our feelings close, the less power they have over us. So it's like, what are you afraid of? Hold it close. And then it does move on. All of a sudden you go, wow. And I think the thing is that it's not that you're going to be all the time like, oh, I feel so great, I'm so grateful. It's that when things are hard, you can return to a foundation of gratefulness. You have that as a reference point, and it gets stronger and stronger and stronger. And that's what's really true about, like a muscle. We have to practice. We have to commit ourselves to learning the tools, learning the ways back. And one of the things I say is perspective is everything. In this book, it's all about perspective in some ways. Like you said, comparing yourself, like, oh, I don't like my shoes. And it's like, well, what happens if I didn't have any shoes, or I didn't have,
any
it's
feet,
like feet, whatever. It's like, that's a perspective. And that's a perspective that works for you. Everybody has to find the way that they remember what really matters to them, that they stay in touch with. And so sometimes it's about remembering, like I always say, wow, life is really precious. Is this how I'm going to spend my day? What if it's my last day? I don't know if it's my last day. How do I want to spend these moments? And to really treasure life. And that's poignancy, or you get to the mountaintop. Picture yourself standing on the mountaintop. Picture yourself on a plane. You know how when you're on a plane, you look down at the world and everything. That's what we call a peak awareness perspective. You've got like the sense of vastness, right? And so there's so many ways to get perspective, but find the ones that work for you. Find the quotes that work for you. Find the questions that work for you. Find the little reminders, those touchstones, that you come back to. And what are the little movies you can watch? What are the little videos that help you remember how lucky you are, even when things are hard? What are the songs you listen to? And make sure to make your life one that nourishes your gratefulness. What are you doing? What are each of us doing to make sure? Who are the people we're surrounding ourselves by? What are the messages we let in? How do we orchestrate our lives so that we're more full of the things that make us more grateful? And then life will be hard, but we'll have a wellspring that's deeper and enough to bring nourishment to it. We're more resilient. We return faster to the places of remembering what really matters. We don't go off and awfulize for days and days and days and days on end. It might be hours, that's fine, but there's some way that we catch ourselves and we bring ourselves back. Don't forget your good fortune. What are you grateful for right now? And help bring that into balance. It's not that one replaces the other, but we remember also how magnificent life is. We remember how fortunate we are.
Yeah, I love this. I love this conversation. I love the conversations about gratitude. I love the conversations about forgiveness. I love these conversations because they really are truly healing of the body. Many people don't even think about these things. And the body doesn't know who you're angry with. It assumes it's you. So think about that. If you're angry with somebody, the body doesn't understand that you're angry with somebody else. That's why forgiveness is so important. That's why being grateful for the experience is so important, because our bodies will make up whatever it is. Our body will make it up, and then eventually it'll either go towards health or it goes towards disease. And that's basically the choices that we have. And if we could make it a choice, like people say, well, I don't have a choice, I'm upset. Well, okay, again, I love the quote. I love interviewing Mark Nepo. I interviewed him a long time ago. I'm trying to remember how long it was, but that quote that you talked about, how we need to embrace our fears or hold them as opposed to just like ignore them or numb ourselves up. But here we are, we're talking about, gratefulness in a time where people are losing their jobs. People aren't able to touch their families. People are being forced to do things that they may or may not want to do. And so as we enter this, gratitude is going to help us stay sane and being grateful for what we do have. You talked about you talk about this well, which I love the imagery of having a well, and that it's flowing, that it's abundant. I normally call it a bank account. People understand that if we don't make deposits into the bank account and we write a big check, we will go bankrupt or that we'll overdraw. But I love that connection to making these the flow of life. So as we go through life, you had made some of the 5 the principles for gratefulness. There are things that we can do along the way to help us shift. What are some of the things that you recommend, Kristi, for shifting?
Well, I think, I was going to say something that's maybe a little bit radical, but I think how we transform is not by resisting, but by loving. I think that, there's so much that if you try to push something away, that which you resist persists, and I think so much about how my own body, how I wanted my body to be different for so long. And yet what I think really helps our bodies transform is deep appreciation for what is about our bodies, for our bodies exactly as they are. They're miraculous. Like if you try to think all the time about how much is going right in your body in every single moment that you're alive, it is overwhelming. Like you could be just basically spend your entire day, 24 hours a day, 60 days an hour, 60 minutes an hour, just thinking about what is going right in my body right now. It's enough to blow your mind. And so, but we tend to focus on the one thing that hurts or the one thing that isn't right. And, and I think, how is it that we can better love our bodies into transformation versus wanting our bodies to be different than they are, right? I think there's something, and how do we love the world into transformation? And how do we love each other into transformation rather than wanting to change somebody? How can I love you so much exactly as you are, that the law of nature is kind of that in that space of love, we transform into what we're meant to be. So I think there's something very powerful about loving acceptance and loving appreciation for ourselves and for our lives and for the world. And that in and of itself helps to shift how the whole world works, how our relationships go, how our relationship with our body goes, how our health evolves, everything. And so I think I just want to say, choose love, and love in action all the time is the most beautiful way to bring about peace, to bring about justice, to bring about health, to bring about transformation.
I love it. Resistance. You mentioned resistance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Many people live in resistance and they don't even know it.
Yeah.
How can somebody identify as resistance in themselves and go, oh, that's what that is?
Oh, yeah. I know it. I know it right away. I can feel it in my body, so I think it's like one of the things I move my body a lot. I do. It's like, oh, I'm in such resistance to this. And just to notice and to name, and instead of making it wrong and bad,
it is what it is.
This is what resistance is. This is what resistance feels like right now. This is how it feels in my body. And once you can befriend it, I love there's something, I'm trying to think what I say, befriend rather than begrudge. Befriend it, and befriend rather than bemoan. So, we bemoan things all the time. We, and begrudge things. And so I think notice when we're resisting, and that resistance doesn't change anything. It actually tends to extend our relationship to the things that we are so upset about.
Focus on lack, yeah.
I think we hold on, what you resist persists. It's like, so what happens if you bring those things closer? What happens if you befriend those things in a different way? And I think it's an invitation in every moment for all of us to transform the conditions of our lives and the world and other people's lives by, through love rather than resistance.
Well, that reminds me, one of the things that has changed since I last spoke with you is that we started some Bible studies with Dr. Lorraine Day. I don't know if you remember Dr. Lorraine Day, but Dr. Lorraine Day, very similar, was told that she was going to die, stage 4 cancer, if she didn't do chemotherapy and radiation. And that was her journey, that she chose not to do it. And that was 28 years ago. She's now 80, almost 85. And we just recently did a Bible study together. And one of them is the New Truth series, a Book of Revelation. And the other one is the lessons from the Exodus, 100 lessons from the Exodus. Talk about learning about resistance here. We have the online and we also have the DVD version. Talk about resistance. And, we see it through the Bible. We see resistance through the Bible. If we want to understand what resistance is, it's truly when you find yourself discontent, like that discontentment. Is it going to feed us to do something better, or will it hold us back? So that finding what resistance is for us, for you, for anyone who's watching today or in the future, where you're listening or watching us, that is a really, I think it's important to embrace it and say, instead of making it wrong, I am in resistance. And one of my favorite quotes was from Dr. Wayne Dyer. This quote, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at changed my life like 30 plus years ago. But you see, we want to change others. We don't want to change. And that's the resistance. We want everybody around us to change, but we are unwilling to change. So what do you say to someone who says, if my spouse would treat me better, or if I could afford to buy healthier food, or if I could go to the spa instead of going to a gym, or, what would you say to someone that is looking outside of themselves for change to happen and life to happen?
It's a good question because, when I had cancer, I couldn't walk. I was in the hospital for a long, long time. There's a lot of things I couldn't do. And, I only speak to this from my own limited personal experience, but one of the things that I believe is to look at not what you can't do, because that's what we focus on so much of the time, but what can you do? So what small thing can you do that will make a shift? What perspective can you gain right now? What gratitude can you feel? So going towards the can, what can I, and notice when that can't energy comes up. and help the world change around you by knowing what you can do and being the change you want to see in the world. Be that change that you want to see outside of yourself.
That's what I have right now. Look at
Be
that.
it.
I don't know if you can see it. You can see
yeah,
it?
I can. Be the change.
Be the change.
So, I think that's really important, is it's about embodiment. What do you want to embody? What are you embodying? And be what you want to see outside yourself. Be what you want your life to be. And what are you going to lose? It's worth it to try, and it's worth it to explore what you can do as opposed to what you can't do.
I like it. Sitting with curiosity, that has been something that was life-changing for me. Being curious instead of critical, being able to look at the other side, to say, okay, what do I have to gain? Because we tend to look at what we have to lose, what we have, what could go wrong, what could, all the stuff that's so awful in our life. But there's so many things that could go right from doing something different and new, and looking forward to it in anticipation, as opposed to, struggling through it, or, being, anxious about it. Even the words we choose can release some of that tension from us. Would you like to add to that?
Well, what was I just thinking? I was just thinking about how I shift. And one of the things that I think this idea of taking nothing for granted is just hugely critical. And when I am stewing and festering and holding a grudge and like just really feeling bad, pity party or whatever I'm doing, because it happens to all of us.
It does.
And it's important to admit it happens to all of us. Nobody's got this stuff all figured out 24/7. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So we're all students and teachers. So I think when I'm feeling that way, then if I ask myself, if I basically say to myself, what about life are you taking for granted right now? What about life are you taking for granted right now? And what I'm taking for granted is that I'm going to have all the time in the world to make things right. I'm going to have all the time in the world to forgive people or forgive myself. I'm going to have all the time in the world. And I'm taking life for granted in those moments that I don't heal and resolve what's mine to heal and resolve, and bring myself back to the place where I want to live from. And if I can bring myself back to where I want to live from, then I'm going to ensure my own quality of life, so that, people say, live this day as if it's going to be your last. And that's a radical proposition. Live this day as if it's your first or your last. And what are you taking for granted otherwise? You're taking for granted that all the time in the world is yours to be able to make life right, and to be able to make yourself and your own way of approaching life right. And don't take that for granted, because we never know what's going to happen. And I think so that's a regret-free life. Really, we're more likely to live a regret-free life if we say, this day is precious. This day is all I have. This moment is here I am. It's what's given to me. What am I going to do with it? And that may lead you all kinds of places, but it's going to lead you in the true direction of your heart. If you ask yourself those questions.
Yeah. And everything that you're saying, the only thing that would keep us from that joy of gratefulness is our ego. It's our ego. It's our own personal ego that is trying to sabotage us along the way, to keep us angry and upset and in discontentment. What could you add anything about the ego when it comes to gratefulness?
Well, the ego is small. It's the small self. It's really it's possessive and petty, and I think it's nice to say something like, I choose greater. I choose greater than this. I choose gratefulness. I choose gratefulness of heart. I choose gratefulness of life. There's a saying that we have, which is, gratefulness is greeting the gratefulness of life with gratefulness of heart. So if you're staying in gratefulness, that's 2 words, gratefulness of heart, and your heart is full to overflowing, and you can greet whatever's going on with your heart wide open, you're going to live a grateful life, because it keeps you connected to your heart all the time. And that really is, I think, the pathway to a life that really matters, to a life that, where you're going to be able to feel alive and joyful and loving and wake up another day and say, oh my gosh, I am so lucky. I get another day.
I tell you what, I could talk for another 2-3 hours about this topic. I want to remind you all that Kristi wrote the book is right. Wake Up Grateful. We're giving one away. Text 407-373-5959. Declare your gratefulness. Declare that you want abundance in your life, and the kind of abundance that leads to gratefulness and happiness, whether it's happening the way you want it or not. It'll be an easier journey when you do have that gratefulness. So one of you, 407-373-5959. I'm going to draw names Tuesday or Wednesday, or we'll just leave it Tuesday. That way, for those of you who are listening on podcasts or are watching later on, please know that your name will be added to the winner's basket, and one name will be picked. I'm looking forward to my book. I am looking forward to it because this is so important. The organization is called A Network for Grateful Living, and you can go to gratefulness.org. I promote you guys all the time in my workshops and everything that I do, because gratefulness is so important. So before we go, Kristi, can you go through those 5 principles one more time, please?
Quick. I'll do it quicker.
Yes.
Life is a gift. When you greet each moment gratefully, you're always receiving. Everything is surprise. When you open to wonder, opportunities abound. The ordinary is extraordinary. When you take nothing for granted, life is abundant. Appreciation is generative. When you tend what you value thrives. Love is transformative. When you embrace the gratefulness of life, your heart overflows.
Amen. Amen, sister. Thank you so much, Kristi. And
Thanks
for those of
me.
you, and for those of you who are tuning in today, and this seems a little foreign, just sit with it. Just sit with it. And as Kristi said, just allow the swelling of the filling up the well. Just fill up the well and just know that you are exactly where you need to be. Thank you so much, Kristi Nelson. I really do appreciate and love you. And I am grateful for your book. And I'm looking forward to getting every single page that I will devour once I get the book. And please remember, for those of you, we'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott and Kristi Nelson wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day
ever.
Good job. Good job. Okay. Okay,
Thanks,
guys.
everyone. Thanks for your attention.
We'll see you soon. Take